Before we begin with this video, I would like to introduce you to my website www.learnfrenchbysuchita.com, where you will find recorded courses for all your French language needs. We have courses for DELF A1, DELF A2, DELF B1, TEF TCF recorded course, French phonetics as well. We have special courses for our school students ranging from grade 5 to grade 8. We also have courses for university students who are enrolled in certificate course or diploma course in Delhi University. And finally, we also have courses for our school students who are aiming to appear for their DELF Prem or DELF Junior examinations. So hurry up and check it out.
Bonjour tout le monde et bienvenue à Learn French by Suchita. Je m'appelle Suchita, votre enseignante de la langue française, et dans cette vidéo, on va apprendre les pays et les nationalités. The countries and the nationalities. So let's start. Here I've written few examples in front of you. First we'll learn how do we say as country, and then we'll learn the nationalities. So before we do the nationalities, I would like to tell you that the nationalities in French, they are the adjectives. The adjectives. So you have different types of adjectives. So let's say if I say she's an Indian lady. So Indian, that's a nationality, but that's an adjective. So there are different types of adjectives that you have. The nationalities is one of them. So she's an Indian lady. Indian, it's a nationality, it's an adjective. If I say this is a black marker, so black, that's a color, that's again an adjective. Okay, if I say she's beautiful, now beautiful, that's again an adjective, but that's a quality. So you have different types of adjectives, the colors, the nationalities, the qualities, but in this one we are going to specifically do the nationalities. So let's just begin with this. Now first, India. India. So the first column that you are seeing in front of you, that is country. How do we say India? India is land. Land. And the next is les nationalités, the nationalities. That means if you want to say I live in India, you will say j'habite en Inde. Inde. But if you want to say your nationality, you want to say I am Indian, then you will need the nationalities for that. Now, as I just told you that the nationalities are adjectives. So all the rules of adjectives will be applied to the nationalities. So what are the rules of adjectives? In French, you make the feminine and you make the plural of adjectives according to the subject or according to the noun it is describing. Let's say if I said this is an Indian lady. Now Indian is describing the word lady. So you have to see lady, that's feminine, that's singular. So you will have to make Indian also as feminine and singular. So adjectives, or I should say nationalities in this case, they agree in gender and in number according to the noun they describe. So let's just learn how do we write the masculine singular and how do we write the feminine singular. You can also write the masculine plural and the feminine plural of these nationalities, but since I don't have the space, so I did not write that. Now first one, which is indien. Indien. Now the words which end with en, or rather I should say the adjectives which end with en, in order to make their feminines, you put E-double-N-E always. So that is why if you see in indien, I have applied E-double-N-E. So India, land. Indien, indienne. Indien, indienne. Now second one, which is France. France, which is la France. La France. That's the country. Now coming on to the nationality, which is français. Français. Féminin, française. Français, française. Français, française. So generally in order to make it feminine, you apply E. Generally. Okay. But if it is ending with en, then in that case you apply E-double-N-E. But generally you put E, like français, française. Now the third one, which is Japan. Japan is le Japon. Le Japon. And the corresponding nationality is Japonais. Japonais. And in order to make it feminine, we applied E, which became Japonaise. Japonais, japonaise, japonais, japonaise. Now, China. China is la Chine, la Chine, la Chine. In French, CH is always sh, so it is la Chine. So the nationality is Chinois, Chinois. By the way, the combination OI in French is oua, oua, Chinois. The feminine is chinoise. So you see, we again applied E to make it feminine. Next, Italy. L'Italie, Italien, Italienne. So now you see Italia is ending with EN. So in order to make it feminine, we applied ENN. So Italien, Italienne. Now next, Belgium. Belgium is la Belgique, la Belgique. And the nationality is Belge, Belge. Now you see, Belge is already ending with E in the masculine form. So in order to make it feminine, you will not apply any extra E. So Belge, Belge, that remains same in both of the forms. So there are three rules that we learned. In order to make it feminine, you apply generally E. If it is already ending with E, then you do not add any extra E. And if it is ending with EN, then you apply ENNE. Okay, so the next country is Spain. Spain is l'Espagne, l'Espagne, l'Espagne. So whenever you have GN combination, the sound is always n, n. So l'Espagne. Now the corresponding nationality is Espagnol, Espagnol. In order to make it feminine, I applied E. And the pronunciation is same. Espagnol, Espagnol. So l'Espagne, Espagnol, Espagnol. Moving on to the next one, which is England. England is l'Angleterre, l'Angleterre, l'Angleterre. Okay. The nationality is Anglais, Anglais. Feminine. In order to make it feminine, I applied E. Anglaise. So Angleterre, Anglais, Anglaise. Moving on to the next one, which is Germany. Germany is l'Allemagne, l'Allemagne. So you have GN again. I told you Espagne, l'Allemagne. Now the corresponding nationality is Allemand, Allemand. In order to make it feminine, I applied E and it became Allemande, Allemande, Allemand, Allemande. Allez, Canada. Canada is le Canada, le Canada. The nationality is Canadien, Canadien. And now it is ending with EN. So in order to make it feminine, we'll apply ENNE. So Canadien, Canadienne, Canadien, Canadienne. All those adjectives, or rather I should say all the nationalities which end with EN, in order to make their feminines, you applied ENNE. So Canadien, Canadienne. Next, Portugal. Portugal is le Portugal, le Portugal. The nationality is Portugais, Portugais. In order to make it feminine, I applied E and it became Portugaise, Portugaise. The next one is Switzerland. Switzerland is la Suisse, la Suisse. And the nationality is Swiss. So even the country is Swiss and the people who live in Swiss are also known as Swiss. Now you see, Swiss is already ending with E in the masculine form. So in order to make it feminine, you will not apply any extra E. So it is la Suisse, Suisse and Swiss. Let's just repeat it. L'Espagne, Espagnol, Espagnol. L'Angleterre, Anglais, Anglaise. L'Allemagne, Allemand, Allemande. Le Canada, Canadien, Canadienne. Le Portugal, Portugais, Portugaise. La Suisse, Suisse et Suisse. Okay, so the next country is US, United States. By the way, that's a plural country, that is why I have written les. Les États-Unis, les États-Unis. And the one who lives here is known as Américain. 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 In order to make it feminine, I applied E, which makes it américaine. Américaine. Alors, les États-Unis, américains, américaine. Next one, Russia, that is la Russie. La Russie. The nationality is Russe. Russe. Now, if you see, Russe is already ending with E. So, in order to make it feminine, you will not apply any extra E. So, Russe and Russe. The next one, Australia, which is l'Australie. L'Australie. Australien, Australienne. Australien, Australienne. Now, if you see, Australia is ending with EN. So, in order to make it feminine, we will apply E-double-N-E. So, Australien, Australienne. The next one, which is Denmark. Le Danemark. Le Danemark. Danois, Danoise. Danois, Danoise. So, the country is Le Danemark and the nationality is Danois. Femina, Danoise. And the last one is Pakistan, which is Le Pakistan. Le Pakistan. And the nationality is Pakistanais. Pakistanais, femina, Pakistanaise. We applied E to make it feminine. So, Pakistanais, Pakistanaise. Allez, on les répète. Les États-Unis, Américains, Américaines. La Russie, Russe, Russe. L'Australie, Australien, Australienne. Le Danemark, Danois, Danoise. Le Pakistan, Pakistanais et Pakistanaise. So, without any further ado, let's get into the video, and in this video we are going to learn les pays et les nationalités, which means the countries and the nationalities. And this is the second part of our series, the countries and the nationalities. So, I'll give you a brief recap of what we did in the previous video. In the previous video we did and we learned how do you write the countries along with their nationalities, as in how do you write India, how do you write Indian, Canada, Canadian, Australia, Australian, France, French. So, all these things we learned. Now, in this part we are going to learn how do you use the nationalities, as in how do you use the feminine version of the nationalities, how do you use the plural version of the nationalities, how do you write the nationalities, do you write them before the noun, do you write them after the noun. So, let's start with the video. Here I have written 4 examples in front of you and you need to fill each blank with the nationality, which is Italien. Okay. Now, il est, elle est, ils sont, et elles sont, So that means you need to fill them with the nationality, which is Italien. Now, before we actually do this, I'm going to explain you a concept. Before you use any nationality in any of the sentence, always look that you are using that nationality for which word in the sentence. For example, il est italien. He is Italian. So, who is Italian? I mean to say that you are using the word Italian for which word in the sentence? You are using it for il. Il est italien. He is Italian. So now you will look at the gender and the number of this particular word. Okay. Now, il. Il means he. Ça c'est masculin ou féminin? Là c'est masculin et singulier. So since it is masculine and it is singular, you will use the masculine singular version of the nationality Italien and it becomes il est italien. Next, elle est, now which means she is Italian. Now here who is Italian? It is she who is Italian. So you will look at the gender and the number of the word elle. So elle, that is she, c'est féminin et c'est singulier. So that means you need to make the nationality as feminine and singular. So how do you make the feminine of the nationality Italian? You remember in the previous video I told you the nationalities which end with en, if you want to make their feminines, you add E-double-N-E. So that is how we are going to make the feminine of this nationality, which is Italia. Elle est italienne. Let's look at the third example, which is ils sont. They are. Ils sont italiens. So which version of Italia we are going to write, that is dependent upon il, because they are the ones who are Italians. We are using the word Italians for the word il. Now il c'est masculin et c'est pluriel. Masculin pluriel. So what you will do, you will write the masculine version and you will make the plural of it. So that is the masculine version, and now you need to make the plural of it. How do you make the plural? You make plural by adding an s. But the pronunciation of singular and plural, that remains same. So even this is Italian and even this is Italian. Okay. Now next, elles sont. They are. Elle, c'est féminin et c'est pluriel. So now, that means you have to first make the feminine of the nationality Italian and then you have to make the plural also. So since it is ending with en, you have to first make its feminine by adding ne, and then in order to make it plural you will add an s. But the pronunciation of feminine singular and feminine plural will remain same. So even this is Italian and even this is Italian. Italien, Italien, Italienne, Italienne. Il est italien, elle est italienne, ils sont italiens, et voilà, elles sont italiennes. Now, I have written few more examples in front of you in order to explain you the concept in a better way. Let's look at them. Je suis. Je suis, which means I am. Now we have to fill all of them with the nationality, which is français. Français, French. Okay. Now, I am French. Who is French here? It is I. Okay. Now, first of all, why have I written it twice? Because I can be male, I can be female. There can be a male who can say I am French, or there can be a female who can say I am French. So that is dependent upon the word je. Okay. Now let's say a male is saying that I am French. So in that case je is masculin et singulier. So you will write the masculine singular version of the nationality français. Je suis français. And if there is a female, for example, if I want to say that I am French, then in that case I am féminin et singulier. So in that case I will use the feminine singular version of the nationality français, which is française. So how do you make the feminine of the nationality? You make it by adding e. So it becomes je suis française. So both are correct. Je suis français, je suis française. Je suis français, je suis française. Both of them are right. If a male is saying that I am French, he would use this. And if a female is saying I am French, she would use this. Next. Tu es. You are French. Now, let's say I am talking to a person who is male. So in that case, tu would be male and singular. Okay. So of course you will use the masculine singular version of the nationality, which is tu es français. And if I am talking to someone who is female, in that case I would say you are French. In that case you is female and it is singular. So in that case you will use the feminine singular version of the nationality. Tu es française. So both of them are fine. Tu es français, tu es française, depending upon what is the gender of you. So now here I have written a rule in front of you. On écrit toujours les nationalités après le nom. Which means what? That we write the nationalities always after the noun in French. For example, in English you would say, this is an Indian lady. So Indian is the nationality and you're using Indian for the word lady. So you say an Indian lady. But in French, Indian would come after. So you will not say an Indian lady, but you will say a lady Indian. So the nationalities are always after the noun in French. Let's say a French man. So you will not say a French man, but you will say a man French. So the nationalities in French, they are always after the noun, unlike English. Okay. Now, few examples I have written in front of you in order to explain you the concept better. The first one, c'est une femme, and now you have to fill the blank with Anzia. So what does it mean first of all? This is an Indian lady. So in English you would say this is an Indian lady, but in French you would say this is a lady Indian. And that is why you see that I have left a blank always after the noun. So c'est une femme, and in the brackets we have Anzia. So you will always have to look that you are using the nationality for which word in the sentence. As in, c'est une femme, this is a lady Indian. Indian is being used for which word in the sentence? We are using it for femme. And the word femme is féminin et c'est singulier because you have une. Féminin, singulier. So you will use the feminine singular version of the nationality Anzia. C'est une femme indienne. C'est une femme indienne. And the rule that I applied here is the nationalities which end with en, in order to make their feminines, you apply double N-E. Okay, let's look at the second example. C'est une table. This is a table, Chinese. So in French you say this is a table Chinese, but in English you say this is a Chinese table. Now you're using Chinese for which word in the sentence? You're using it for table. Now, table, c'est féminin ou c'est masculin? C'est une table, alors c'est féminin et c'est singulier. So you have to write the feminine singular version of the nationality chinois. How would you write its feminine? You will write it by putting an E. And it becomes c'est une table chinoise. This is a Chinese table. Let's look at the third example, which is j'ai vu. Here I've used the past tense. I saw some men belge. Okay. Now we are using belge for the word homme. Homme c'est masculin ou féminin? C'est un homme. Hommen, that's masculine and that is plural. Masculin, pluriel. Alors, belge avec S. J'ai vu des hommes belges. Next, j'apprends la langue. I'm learning or I learn the French language. So French is being used for the word I or language. It's being used for the word language. And the word language is la langue. C'est toujours féminin et singulier. C'est toujours féminin. Alors, j'apprends la langue française. So français avec E because you need to make it feminine. So I'll repeat all the four examples. C'est une femme indienne. C'est une table chinoise. J'ai vu des hommes belges. And j'apprends la langue française. If you want to write any other language, you will say j'apprends la langue indienne, j'apprends la langue japonaise, j'apprends la langue chinoise, j'apprends la langue italienne. So for any language, it is going to be feminine because that is dependent upon the word which is long. By the way, if you want to write any sentence wherein you are using the nationality, you can mention them in the comment section below. I am going to read it out. Now, let's start with how do you actually conjugate the ER verbs. So now the ER verbs, the ending will always be ER. Now let's say chanter. The verb that I have taken is the verb chanter, chanter which means to sing. So the infinitive form of the verb is chanter, which means to sing. Now the golden rule which has to be followed everywhere in all the ER verbs, that is that you have to drop the ER. So when you drop the ER, you have to drop this, and the radical that is left is C-H-A-N-T. This is known as radical, radical. Now that I am going to write in all the cases with je, with tu, with il, with elle. So all these are the subject pronouns. If you do not know what are subject pronouns, I'm dropping the link in the card above. Just watch that video first, then come back here again. So with all the subjects, you need to write the radical first, and the radical is drop ER, whatever is left is your radical. That I have written in red everywhere. Chant, 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 you have to write in all the cases. Followed by the terminaison, followed by the endings, which are going to be the same in all the ER verbs. E, es, e, e, e. Why? Because the conjugation of il, elle and on is always same. Then with nous it is going to be ons, vous, ez, il pluriel, which is masculine plural, ent, and elle pluriel, which is femina pluriel, ent. With il and elle, the conjugation is same. Now coming on to the pronunciation. Je chante, tu chantes, il chante, elle chante, on chante. So that means the pronunciation of all of them is same. Je chante, tu chantes, il chante, elle chante, on chante. Nous chantons, vous chantez, il chante, elle chante. Now the biggest mistake which I've seen is people pronounce it as ils chantons. No. In all the conjugation, you take any verb in all the conjugations, whenever you have the termination as ending as ent, you never pronounce that. So it is il chante, elle chante. Never say it as ils chantons. Okay? Je chante, I sing, or I am singing. Now another mistake which I've seen is when you have to write I am singing. Now what do people do? I am according to them is je suis. And then they write chante, je suis chante, which is incorrect. In French, present simple and present continuous tense is same. So you say je chante, that would mean I sing or I am singing. Both. Tu chantes, you sing or you are singing. Il chante, he sings or he is singing. Elle chante, she sings or she is singing. So she is singing, or basically you do not have something like I am singing. If you want to say I am singing, that would translate itself to je chante only. Then you have on chante. For on you have two meanings. You can say one sings or you can say we sing. One is singing or we are singing. Then you have nous chantons. We sing or we are singing. Vous chantez. You sing or you are singing. Ils chantent, that's they sing or they are singing. And then you have elles chantent, that's they sing or they are singing. That's masculine plural et là c'est féminin. Là c'est masculin pluriel et ça c'est féminin pluriel. On répète, hein, répétez après moi. Je chante, tu chantes, il chante, elle chante, on chante, nous chantons, vous chantez, il chante et elle chante. Now, the next verb that I've written is fermer. Fermer. Again, you see that's the regular ER verb. Because it is ending with ER, the meaning is to close. So the infinitive form of the verb is fermer. Now, what was the first rule? The first rule is that you remove ER. Whatever you are left with, ER you are going to remove. Whatever you are left with, F-E-R-M, that you're going to write in all the subjects, with all the subjects. So, je, tu, il, elle, on, nous, vous, il, pluriel et elle pluriel. Then you have to write all the radicals. So radical is F, E, R, M. That I have written in all the cases, followed by les terminaisons. E, ES, E, E, E. ONS, EZ, ENT, ENT. Prononciation. Je ferme, tu fermes, il ferme, elle ferme, on ferme, nous fermons, vous fermez, il ferme, elle ferme. Remember, you do not have to pronounce ENT. Il ferme, elle ferme. Now the meaning in English. Je ferme, I close or I am closing. Tu fermes, you close or you are closing. Il ferme, he closes or he is closing. Elle ferme, she closes or she is closing. On ferme, I've not written it because it is same in all the cases. So on ferme, that's one closes or one is closing. Or you can have we close or we are closing. Nous fermons, that's we close or we are closing. Then you have vous fermez, that's you close or you are closing. Il ferme, masculin pluriel, they close or they are closing. Elle ferme, they close or they are closing. But this time it is féminin pluriel. In today's lesson, we are going to study some commonly used verbs which belong to the category ER verbs. So the topic is commonly used ER verbs. Alright, so here are certain examples of the verb which are ER. The first is the verb habiter. The verb is habiter, which means to live. Next is parler. The verb is parler, which means to speak. Next, aimer. The verb is aimer, which means to like. Next, adorer. The verb is adorer, to love, or you can say to adore. Next, détester. The verb is détester, which means to hate. Next, étudier. The verb is étudier, which means to study. Now from this verb, we have this noun étudiant, which means student. Next verb is chanter. The verb is chanter, which means to sing. From here we have this noun une chanson, which means a song. Next, fermer. The verb is fermer, which means to close. So if I want to say someone that please close the door, what will I say? I'll say fermez la porte, s'il vous plaît. The next is tomber. Tomber, which means to fall. Next is visiter. The verb is visiter, which means to visit. Alright, so the next verb is jouer. Jouer means to play. Penser. The verb is penser, which means to think. Préparer. The verb is préparer, which means to prepare. The next is couper. Couper means to cut. The next is inviter. The verb is inviter, which means to invite. Next is déjeuner. The verb is déjeuner, which means to have lunch. Next, dîner. The verb is dîner. Dîner means to dine or to have dinner. Next verb, aider. The verb is aider. Aider means to help. Next is acheter. The verb is acheter, which means to buy. Next verb, monter. The verb is monter. Monter means to climb. Now here, these are somewhat similar verbs, but here we have R. So if you write monter, the meaning is to climb.
Here it is montrer. The verb is to show. Next, aller. Aller means to go. The next one, donner. The verb is donner. Donner means to give. The next word, porter. The verb is porter. Porter means to wear, just like we wear clothes. The next verb, now it has an interesting pronunciation. We neither pronounce M nor P. The pronunciation is compter. Compter. Compter means to count. Next is décider. The verb is décider. Décider is to decide. Next, toucher. Remember I told you the pronunciation of CH is sh. So it becomes toucher. Toucher means to touch. And the last one is accepter. The verb is accepter, which means to accept.
If you like this video, do not forget to hit the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and for daily updates and reminders, do not forget to hit the bell icon. And I'll see you very soon with the next video. Till then, au revoir, à bientôt et bisous bisous.